Ever tried to rise above a problem and still felt the weight of it pressing down on you? That's Stoicism in action, and sometimes it's not enough. Stoic wisdom tells us to bear and forbear, and that pain is a choice. Thanks, Epictetus. But here's the twist. Life doesn't always care if you're trying to choose your way out of it. The more we push emotions aside, the more they linger, quietly shaping our lives from the background. For some, Stoicism feels like a clean philosophy that fits in a tidy box. But what about the messier, less controlled parts of life? If you've ever felt let down by the "just let it go" mantra, maybe you're sensing that something deeper is missing. Ready to dive into an approach that doesn't just ask you to rise above emotions, but actually use them? Stick around, subscribe if you're curious, as we explore why Stoicism might fail you, and the surprisingly liberating alternative that could give you the balance you've been searching for. Embrace your emotions, don't just endure them. One of Stoicism's core teachings is that we shouldn't let emotions rule our actions. The Stoics taught that peace comes from within, and that external events, even hardships, are beyond our control and should not disturb our inner calm. This sounds empowering on paper. Why let sadness, anger, or frustration take over when you can simply decide they don't matter? But what if ignoring or repressing these emotions does more harm than good? Let's face it, there's only so much you can do by mentally rising above an emotion. Stoicism can give us stability during tough times, but for some, it can feel rigid, as if we're cutting ourselves off from the richness of our feelings. Here's where emotional resilience offers a valuable alternative. Instead of pushing emotions aside, this approach asks us to look at our feelings as teachers, each one holding a lesson if we're willing to explore it. If anger flares up, maybe it's pointing to something that genuinely needs changing. If sadness persists, perhaps it's signaling an unmet need. Emotional resilience encourages us to work with our emotions instead of against them. Picture this: you're frustrated at work, feeling unappreciated. A Stoic approach might tell you to see this as external to your happiness, to detach from needing validation. But emotional resilience asks, why do you feel unappreciated? This approach allows you to unpack that frustration, maybe realizing you need more feedback, purpose, or growth in your role. Embracing emotions doesn't mean indulging every feeling or letting anger dictate your decisions, but it allows you to understand what's happening within and take actionable steps to address those needs. For many, this kind of self-awareness is a missing link. Instead of leaving frustration unresolved, emotional resilience teaches you to use it as a signal to explore what truly matters. Maybe you value recognition more than you've admitted, and by understanding that, you can work on developing more satisfying interactions with colleagues or a clearer path to personal growth. Another powerful part of this approach is learning to view each emotion as temporary. Emotions, while often intense, pass when we accept them without judgment. If you feel sadness, for instance, let yourself feel it without labeling it as bad or unproductive. Acknowledging an emotion doesn't mean it has to control your day. Rather, it helps you experience it fully, understand its roots, and eventually let it go naturally. Ironically, by allowing emotions to exist without suppression, they tend to lose their grip faster. Think of your mind as a river. Stoicism teaches you to build a strong bridge over it, staying above the current. Emotional resilience teaches you to become a skilled swimmer, navigating the waters with awareness and strength. Both paths lead to growth, but swimming in the river brings a fuller experience of life itself. Emotions, after all, are part of what make us human. By letting emotions flow, we develop an inner flexibility. This is resilience in its most powerful form, not the absence of feeling, but the capacity to feel deeply and move forward anyway. So, next time you feel something intense, pause. Instead of trying to detach from it, ask yourself, what is this feeling here to teach me? See setbacks as growth, not just indifference. In Stoicism, we are taught to stay calm and unaffected by setbacks, adopting a mindset that sees challenges as external and therefore unworthy of our frustration. After all, why let something outside your control disturb your peace? However, real life doesn't always feel so simple. If you've ever faced a major disappointment, a failed relationship, a lost job, or a missed opportunity, you know that detaching from the emotional weight of these events is easier said than done. Imagine you've missed out on a promotion. A purely stoic response might tell you to accept it and move on, recognizing that the decision was beyond your control. However, emotional resilience might guide you to look deeper, asking questions like, why did I feel so attached to this role? Was it the recognition, the growth potential, the financial security? By understanding the root of your disappointment, you start seeing the setback not as an end, but as a chance to learn about your true desires. There's a powerful shift when we start seeing setbacks as invitations to grow. Instead of viewing a closed door as a dead end, emotional resilience encourages you to see it as a reminder to expand your perspective. We can use each setback as a mirror that reflects parts of ourselves we might not otherwise confront. Growth happens when we face these moments with openness, not by brushing them aside as irrelevant. And here's where resilience really shines. Setbacks are inevitable, but how we choose to interpret and integrate them changes everything. By allowing ourselves to feel the frustration, the disappointment, or even the hurt, we open the door to self-discovery. These emotions, while uncomfortable, can reveal our motivations, our values, and sometimes the very skills we need to develop. The next time a door closes in your life, resist the urge to brush it off with stoic indifference. Instead, lean into the experience. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this moment shape me into the person I want to become? With emotional resilience, every setback is an opportunity to grow, a turning point in a journey that's always moving you forward. Practice vulnerability as a strength, not a weakness. In Stoicism, strength often means guarding ourselves against the uncontrollable forces of life, maintaining an inner fortress that remains unmoved by emotions and external chaos. Vulnerability, by this logic, can seem like a weakness, an opening for pain, disappointment, or rejection. But what if, instead of seeing vulnerability as something to avoid, we embraced it as a profound source of personal power? Emotional resilience offers us an alternative. The idea that allowing ourselves to be vulnerable is one of the bravest and most transformative things we can do. Vulnerability isn't about being weak or overly sensitive. It's about being real. It's allowing yourself to admit when you don't have all the answers, when you're struggling, or when you need help. This kind of openness can feel uncomfortable, but it's where authentic growth happens. Think about the relationships that mean the most to you. Are they based on perfect, unshakable strength, or are they built on moments of honesty where you've been able to show up just as you are? Perhaps you've had a friend who shared a difficult experience, revealing a side of them that wasn't polished or prepared. In contrast, keeping up an unbreakable front can be isolating. When we shut down vulnerability, we shut out the chance for others to truly understand us. Yes, it might feel safer to shield ourselves from potential hurt, but in doing so, we also miss out on the meaningful connections that help us through difficult times. Emotional resilience teaches us that being vulnerable actually strengthens us by creating relationships that support and uplift us when we're struggling. Vulnerability is the bridge to empathy, connection, and real support. Tools that empower us to navigate life's ups and downs more effectively. So, the next time you feel the urge to hide your true feelings or tough it out, remember that real strength often lies in showing up exactly as you are. Vulnerability invites courage into your life, encouraging you to face challenges with authenticity rather than pretense. Ask yourself, what would happen if I let down my guard a little? You might just find that opening up allows you to grow stronger, building resilience through connection and self-acceptance rather than isolation. In this way, vulnerability transforms from a perceived weakness into one of your greatest strengths. Respond, don't just react. One of the key principles in Stoicism is learning to remain calm in the face of life's disturbances, keeping a cool detachment from things that could otherwise trigger intense emotional reactions. But if you've ever found yourself reacting impulsively, maybe saying something in anger or shutting down during a conflict, you know how automatic these reactions can feel. To respond rather than react means stepping back and considering the why behind your feelings before you act on them. Picture this. A colleague dismisses your idea in a meeting and you feel a flash of irritation or defensiveness. A reactive approach might have you immediately arguing your point or stewing over the perceived slight for hours. But emotional resilience suggests taking a pause, noticing that initial frustration, and asking yourself, a big part of responding versus reacting is the ability to communicate with intention. In moments of stress or disagreement, reacting often leads to misunderstandings or escalates the conflict. But a measured response allows you to communicate clearly, focusing on resolution instead of escalation. This doesn't mean suppressing how you feel. It means expressing your thoughts in a way that is both honest and productive. For example, if you're upset with a friend, rather than reacting with criticism, you might say, "I felt hurt when you did that, and I'd like us to find a way to avoid it in the future." Responding allows you to stand up for your feelings while fostering understanding rather than division. Ultimately, emotional resilience teaches us that responding is a skill we can develop through practice, patience, and self-awareness. It's not about always having the perfect reaction or suppressing emotions. It's about knowing yourself well enough to handle whatever life throws your way with grace and thoughtfulness. Over time, responding becomes a habit, a steady tool that enables you to navigate life's challenges with clarity and calm. Cultivate self-compassion. Instead of harsh self-criticism, Stoicism encourages us to take responsibility for our actions and to examine ourselves critically in order to grow. This focus on self-discipline can be incredibly empowering, helping us hold ourselves accountable and push through difficult times. Self-compassion doesn't mean letting yourself off the hook or excusing poor choices. Instead, it involves treating yourself with the same understanding and patience you'd extend to a friend facing the same struggles. Emotional resilience teaches that mistakes and setbacks are a natural part of learning, and that being too hard on yourself can actually slow down your progress. Self-compassion, on the other hand, encourages you to acknowledge the mistake, recognize it as part of the growth process, and use it as a learning experience without berating yourself. By practicing self-compassion, we cultivate a supportive inner dialogue that promotes resilience in the face of life's challenges. Think of how you'd support a friend who's struggling with self-doubt. You'd likely reassure them, help them see their strengths, and encourage them to keep going. Self-compassion also has a powerful impact on mental and emotional health. Studies show that people who practice self-compassion tend to experience lower levels of anxiety and depression, as well as a greater overall sense of well-being. This is because self-compassion reduces the tendency to ruminate on mistakes or setbacks, which can often lead to a downward spiral of self-doubt and negative thinking. By choosing compassion over criticism, you create a foundation of resilience that's rooted in self-acceptance. Developing self-compassion can be as simple as practicing mindful awareness when you're feeling down or frustrated with yourself. Next time you're caught in a moment of self-criticism, pause and ask yourself, how would I speak to a friend in this situation? By shifting your inner dialogue to one of kindness, you're building an internal strength that's based on self-respect and empathy. Over time, this compassionate approach becomes a natural response, creating an emotional resilience that allows you to face life's ups and downs without losing sight of your inherent value. Self-compassion, in the end, is not just a kindness, but a powerful tool for growth, one that empowers you to move forward without the weight of self-doubt or harsh judgment. Embrace flexibility over rigidity. In Stoicism, there's a strong focus on cultivating discipline and adhering to principles that guide one's actions and responses to the world. Stoic teachings often emphasize holding firm, remaining grounded, and not wavering in the face of challenges. While this strength and consistency can help us stay resilient through life's storms, it can also lead us to become too rigid, where we might resist change or flexibility in favor of a strict adherence to routine or belief. Emotional resilience, however, suggests that adaptability and openness to change are equally important. Instead of clinging tightly to set expectations or ideals, embracing flexibility allows us to meet life's surprises and setbacks with creativity and openness, rather than fear or frustration. Flexibility is the ability to recalibrate our responses based on new information, shifting circumstances, or changing priorities. Imagine you're working toward a goal that suddenly becomes impossible due to circumstances beyond your control. A rigid mindset might push you to keep going even when it's no longer realistic, because giving up or change. This kind of mental agility, recognizing when to shift strategies, redefine goals, or let go entirely, keeps us resilient without forcing us to endure unnecessary hardship. Embracing flexibility also empowers us to see obstacles as opportunities for growth and adaptation. For example, let's say a particular career path or relationship didn't unfold as you'd hoped. A rigid approach might leave you feeling bitter or defeated, clinging to an idea of how things should have gone. Flexibility, however, encourages you to take a broader view. Another key aspect of flexibility is learning to be kind with yourself when things change. Life rarely follows a linear path, and rigid expectations can sometimes make us feel as if we've somehow fallen short if we need to shift course. Emotional resilience teaches that it's okay, and even necessary, to change our minds, adjust our plans, or evolve our goals. So, the next time life throws a curveball your way, take a moment to breathe and consider your options. Ask yourself, what's the best response for me in this moment? Instead of reacting with rigidity, be willing to adapt, to recalibrate, and to trust that each change is guiding you toward a version of yourself that's more resilient, more capable, and more at peace. Embracing flexibility doesn't mean abandoning discipline or resilience. It means enhancing them with an openness that allows for real, sustainable growth in the ever-evolving landscape of life. Cultivate gratitude for the present moment, not just for achievements. Stoicism often encourages us to remain grounded, finding contentment in life's basics rather than constantly chasing external achievements or possessions. This is incredibly valuable. It frees us from the endless cycle of wanting more and helps us appreciate what we have. But a common pitfall is to associate gratitude with accomplishments or moments when things are going well, making gratitude feel conditional or like something that's earned. Emotional resilience, however, teaches us that gratitude is most powerful when it's rooted in the present moment itself, regardless of what's happening in our lives. This approach suggests that cultivating a practice of everyday gratitude, especially in challenging or ordinary moments, creates a stable foundation for resilience and a deep sense of fulfillment. Gratitude in the present moment means learning to appreciate life as it unfolds, rather than waiting for some ideal future state or grand success. Imagine a day filled with mundane tasks. Maybe you're stuck in traffic, have a list of errands to tackle, and are handling a less than exciting workload. Practicing present moment gratitude invites you to pause and notice the details you'd normally overlook. The warmth of the sun on your drive, the music that lifts your mood, the satisfaction of crossing tasks off your list. It's about learning to see each moment as valuable in itself, rather than as a stepping stone to something else. This shift toward present gratitude doesn't mean denying hardships or forcing a positive attitude. It's not about pretending everything is perfect, but rather about finding small things to appreciate even when times are tough. By grounding ourselves in these little moments of gratitude, we build a cushion that helps us handle the ups and downs of life with more grace. Gratitude becomes a steady anchor, not something reserved only for good times. Moreover, practicing gratitude for the present moment trains your mind to recognize abundance in places you might otherwise overlook. This kind of gratitude helps break the cycle of "I'll be happy when" and brings peace to the here and now, reminding us that we don't need to wait for circumstances to align perfectly in order to feel fulfilled. So next time you catch yourself looking forward to an accomplishment or thinking happiness lies somewhere just out of reach, pause and bring your attention back to the present. With practice, this habit of present moment gratitude builds an inner reservoir of resilience and joy, allowing you to find satisfaction not only in life's big milestones, but in the precious simplicity of everyday experiences. Build inner confidence through self-acceptance, not comparison. Stoicism teaches us to seek validation from within rather than from the opinions of others, which is crucial for a stable sense of self. However, it's easy to fall into the trap of measuring ourselves against external benchmarks or comparing our lives to those of others, especially in today's hyper-connected world. Self-acceptance is a transformative foundation for inner confidence because it doesn't depend on fluctuating external standards. When we practice self-acceptance, we cultivate a sense of worth that remains steady, regardless of life's challenges or the achievements of others. Imagine you're working toward a goal, a promotion at work, for instance. You might naturally start comparing yourself to colleagues who seem to be advancing faster or performing better. This can lead to feelings of inadequacy or the sense that you're falling behind. By accepting where you are on your own path, you're less likely to be swayed by comparison and more likely to remain confident and grounded in your unique journey. This practice of self-acceptance doesn't mean ignoring areas for improvement or settling for less. Rather, it involves embracing both your strengths and weaknesses as natural parts of being human. When we accept ourselves fully, including the imperfections, we reduce the pressure to constantly prove ourselves. This not only strengthens our self-confidence, but also frees up mental and emotional energy that can be directed toward meaningful growth. Moreover, self-acceptance helps us break free from the validation-seeking cycle. When we're deeply rooted in who we are, external opinions lose their grip on our sense of self-worth. Our confidence becomes internal, self-sustaining, and anchored in authenticity. To practice self-acceptance, begin by noticing when you're comparing yourself to others or seeking validation. Over time, this commitment to self-acceptance nurtures a quiet, enduring confidence, a confidence that doesn't need external comparison to thrive, and that remains resilient no matter the circumstances. Prioritize rest as essential, not optional. In Stoic philosophy, there's a strong emphasis on discipline, resilience, and persistence, values that can be incredibly empowering, helping us push through adversity and remain steadfast in our goals. However, this relentless focus on productivity and endurance can sometimes lead us to overlook an essential element of resilience: rest. In a world that often celebrates constant busyness, it's easy to fall into the trap of seeing rest as something optional, a luxury we'll allow ourselves when everything else is done. Emotional resilience, on the other hand, reframes rest not as a reward for hard work, but as a non-negotiable foundation for both mental and physical well-being. Prioritizing rest helps us to recharge and approach life's challenges with clarity and renewed strength, rather than burning ourselves out through constant effort. Rest is essential because it allows our bodies and minds to recover, process, and rejuvenate. When we're constantly on the go, pushing ourselves to do more, we may feel productive, but over time, this pace becomes unsustainable. Imagine a marathon runner who never takes time to rest between races. Eventually, their body will break down and they won't be able to perform at all. Life is much the same. When we neglect rest, we compromise our ability to perform, think clearly, and respond effectively to stress. Emotional resilience teaches us that rest is an act of self-respect and self-preservation, a way of maintaining our well-being so that we can face challenges fully prepared rather than depleted. Resting isn't a sign of weakness. It's a smart strategy that strengthens our resilience. Moreover, prioritizing rest promotes better emotional health. When we're constantly overworked, our patience runs thin, our moods swing, and even minor inconveniences feel overwhelming. Rest helps us manage our emotions, creating the space we need to handle life's ups and downs with greater ease. For instance, if you're dealing with a difficult situation at work or in a relationship, approaching it while well rested can make all the difference. When we're rested, we're better able to think through challenges calmly, problem solve effectively, and respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. Emotional resilience reminds us that being in a balanced state is crucial to facing challenges constructively, and rest is a critical part of creating that balance. Unfortunately, many of us have internalized the idea that rest is unproductive or that it's something we should earn. But when we view rest as essential rather than optional, we begin to understand that taking time to recharge isn't a distraction from our goals. It's what allows us to pursue them sustainably. Incorporating rest into our lives might mean setting boundaries around work hours, committing to regular breaks, or making time for activities that genuinely relax and restore us, like meditation, nature walks, or simply enjoying a moment of quiet. By giving ourselves permission to rest, we're not only honoring our need for balance, but also reinforcing our resilience, making it possible to keep going without reaching the point of exhaustion. So the next time you feel guilty for resting or fear that it's taking away from your productivity, remember that rest is an investment in your well-being and long-term resilience. It's what allows you to show up each day with energy and focus, ready to face whatever comes your way. Embrace rest as a critical part of your journey, recognizing that true strength isn't just about how hard you push yourself, but about knowing when to step back and recharge. In honoring rest, you're not only preserving your energy, but cultivating the resilience needed to sustain and enjoy the fullness of life. Value progress over perfection. Stoic philosophy encourages us to strive for self-mastery, often promoting ideals of strength, wisdom, and self-control. These are noble aims, but when taken too far, they can lead to an unyielding pursuit of perfection. This perfectionism can be self-defeating, leaving us feeling constantly inadequate or frustrated when we inevitably fall short of our ideals. Emotional resilience, by contrast, reminds us that progress, not perfection, is the true path to growth. Perfectionism can be paralyzing. When we hold ourselves to an impossible standard, every mistake feels like failure, every setback a sign that we aren't good enough. Imagine setting a goal to improve your public speaking skills. If instead you focus on progress, you'll celebrate each time you gain a little more confidence, each successful presentation, and even each mistake that teaches you something new. When we value progress over perfection, we also become more resilient in the face of challenges. A perfectionist mindset often leads us to avoid situations where we might fail or fall short, as the discomfort of not being perfect can feel unbearable. We become less afraid of imperfection and more focused on learning and evolving with each step. Progress over perfection also helps us foster self-compassion, which is key to emotional resilience. When we judge ourselves solely by an ideal standard, we often end up being our own harshest critics, constantly noticing what we did wrong instead of what we accomplished. Embracing progress means acknowledging that personal growth is a gradual process, one that involves setbacks and missteps as well as successes. The next time you find yourself striving for perfection, pause and ask yourself, what small progress have I made? Reflect on how far you've come rather than fixating on what remains undone. By valuing progress over perfection, you build resilience, patience, and a positive, supportive inner dialogue. Through small steps, consistent efforts, and the courage to embrace imperfection, you'll find that progress, not perfection, is the path that leads to lasting growth and authentic self-confidence. Accept uncertainty as part of the journey, not as a problem to solve. Stoicism teaches us to control our reactions to external events and focus only on what's within our power. While this can help us navigate life's uncertainties with a calm mind, the constant effort to manage our reactions to the unknown can sometimes create a sense of resistance to uncertainty itself. Accepting uncertainty means recognizing that life is inherently unpredictable and that no amount of planning or preparation can eliminate this fundamental truth. Imagine you're embarking on a new career path or entering a relationship. The unknowns can be daunting, leaving you anxious about potential outcomes or obsessing over what could go wrong. Stoicism might encourage you to detach from specific results, but emotional resilience takes it further by suggesting that embracing uncertainty can actually lead to deeper fulfillment. When we accept uncertainty, we give ourselves permission to be curious and flexible. Instead of clinging tightly to fixed outcomes or rigid expectations, we allow ourselves to adapt, to shift direction if needed, and to approach each new experience with an open mind. This flexibility is essential for resilience because it helps us respond to changes without feeling defeated or disoriented. Accepting uncertainty also reduces the mental and emotional strain of trying to control the uncontrollable. Often, the anxiety we feel about the future stems from a desire for guarantees that simply don't exist. By letting go of the need to know how everything will turn out, we free ourselves from the exhausting cycle of worry and overthinking. Instead, we develop trust in our own ability to handle whatever comes, building confidence in our resilience rather than in any predetermined outcome. The next time you find yourself wrestling with uncertainty, take a deep breath and remind yourself that it's okay not to have all the answers. Accepting uncertainty as an intrinsic part of life doesn't eliminate challenges, but it empowers you to face them with courage, curiosity, and a resilient heart, knowing that each twist and turn contributes to your growth in ways you may not yet understand. Focus on purpose, not just productivity. In today's fast-paced world, productivity is often celebrated as the ultimate measure of success, pushing us to do more, achieve more, and constantly fill our schedules with tasks. Stoicism supports the idea of purposeful action and diligence, teaching us that focusing on our responsibilities and contributing meaningfully to the world is a key part of a fulfilling life. However, it's easy for productivity to become an end in itself, reducing our days to a series of checkboxes and accomplishments rather than meaningful engagement. Emotional resilience offers a different perspective. Rather than simply doing more, it invites us to connect with our deeper purpose, infusing each task with meaning and allowing us to focus on why we're doing what we do. By centering our lives on purpose rather than productivity alone, we can build a sense of fulfillment and resilience that extends beyond any to-do list. Purpose-driven work taps into something deeper than routine or efficiency. It touches on our values, passions, and unique contributions. When we act from a place of purpose, we're motivated by a vision of what we want to create, experience, or contribute to the world, not just by a desire to stay busy or accomplish the next task. Imagine you're working long hours on a project. A productivity-centered mindset might drive you to get through it as quickly as possible, marking each step as another done item. But a purpose-driven approach would prompt you to consider how this project aligns with your personal goals, values, or the impact you want to make. Instead of merely seeking completion, you'd approach each part of the project with a sense of engagement and connection, making the work feel more rewarding and less draining. Focusing on purpose also helps us avoid burnout, a common pitfall of productivity-centered living. When our primary focus is on doing more, we risk running on autopilot, taking on tasks out of habit rather than intent. This can lead to physical and emotional exhaustion as we chase productivity for productivity's sake. Purpose, on the other hand, acts as a natural compass, helping us discern which tasks are truly essential and which may be unnecessary distractions. By prioritizing work that resonates with our core values, we conserve our energy and direct it toward efforts that genuinely matter. Purpose-driven action isn't about filling every minute. It's about filling each moment with intention. Moreover, purpose brings resilience because it provides a sense of direction even when circumstances change. Productivity goals are often tied to specific outcomes, which can make us feel lost or defeated if those outcomes shift or prove unattainable. Purpose, however, is rooted in something more enduring. Whether our path goes exactly as planned or takes unexpected turns, a sense of purpose anchors us, providing meaning and motivation even when external factors are uncertain. Purpose reminds us of the why behind our actions, helping us stay grounded and inspired through life's inevitable challenges. To cultivate purpose, start by asking yourself, what impact do I want my work to have? How does each task align with my values and goals? By focusing on purpose, you create a life that's rich in meaning, not just productivity. This shift enables you to find fulfillment in both small tasks and big projects, connecting each action to a broader vision of the life you want to live. Through purpose, we build a deeper resilience, one that sustains us not through the quantity of what we accomplish, but through the quality and intention behind it. Before you go, take a moment to reflect on what resonated most with you. Maybe it was the idea of embracing vulnerability, leaning into uncertainty, or choosing purpose over mere productivity. Whatever spoke to you, these lessons aren't just ideas. They're practical tools for building a life filled with resilience and deeper meaning. Life will keep throwing its challenges, but with a mindset focused on growth, compassion, and purpose, you're more than ready for whatever comes next. If this journey has sparked something in you, why not continue it with us? Share your thoughts in the comments. What are your own experiences with resilience, or what lesson hit home the most? And if you're ready for more insights, tips, and inspiration, hit that subscribe button Let's keep learning, growing, and building a life worth living together.